Well, we're going to get to some old stuff. This is from Skeeter Skelton-shooting times, February 1977. Good God, that's 42 years ago. Anyway, to satisfy his strong desire to shoot as much as he wanted, our handgun editor went to great extremes to get ammunition. But there was only one way he could get enough, by reloading. Now, I'm sure Fortune Cookie 45LC remembers that. He probably remembers this stuff too. Eating Out with Me and Joe by Skeeter Skelton. That was shooting time September 1973. That's been a while back. Yep, them boys was hungry. They found themselves a nice rattlesnake. Yeah. Anyway, we'll get to this stuff later. We're gonna get to why get into reloading and casting. Okay? If you have a strong desire to shoot, there's only one way to do it. Because nobody has the money to do a lot of stuff. But he said if he wrote a book about the pleasure of shooting, it might be titled The Joy of Hand Loading, okay? It says, when he was a young boy, he didn't even know you could reload an empty case. I found out during one recess period on the grounds of the Central Elementary School where me and my pal Jody Bishop, he dug among his trophies and equipment in his pocket and he produced what appeared to be a factory-made small caliber rifle cartridge, perhaps a .22 Hornet or 218B. Joe explained that he and his parents had been visiting relatives in Arkansas or somewhere, and one of the men in the family had some tools that would take an empty shell and make a new one loaded out of it. This was a sample. The idea was fascinating, but as alien as the thought of television or an airplane that could fly 1,000 miles an hour. He didn't have a centerfire rifle then. In fact, he didn't own a gun of his own, but his dad and all of his friends had plenty of guns, which they sometimes allowed him to shoot. When they needed ammunition, they went to the hardware store and bought it. If they knew how to reload, they had neglected to inform him. Then later on, his first experiences with reloading came 2 or 3 years later. An elderly acquaintance, a friendly old-timer who had a large collection of Indian artifacts and antique items, and for his part of Texas, drug out an old, battered, rusty, ideal tong tool from his catch of possessions. It had a bullet mold on one end, and it contained holes for dies along its body. Everything necessary to manufacture a .44-40 round if you had the case, the primer, the powder, and the lead. He said, I don't think much that the aging gentleman knew much of he wasn't much of a shooter, but he knew the basic, and after rustling up some lead and casting bullets, borrowing a small amount of black powder of unknown gradulation, and some unidentifiable primers that fit the pockets, we cobbled together a few .44-40 rounds. I had promoted a .44-40 revolver somewhere and wanted to try it. I had no memory to buy I had no money to buy ammunition, and to the best of my recollection, these crude homemade loads shot fine. At least they shot, and that's what was important to him. Ammunition and reloading components were tight during World War II. And still, I'd never seen a decent reloading outfit. I remember screaming like a banshee in 1942 when a black marketer wanted $3.50 a box for 38 40s for his Colt. His entrance into the Border Patrol found him still bumbling around for ammo. And then when he was able to join the Marine Corps, well, they kept him busy with ammo. They gave him plenty of ammo. In the meantime, he had a friend who had a Pacific Super Tool. After years of waiting, he managed to acquire his first Smith & Wesson .357. It was one of those two specially obtained by Colonel Doug Wesson for 2 of his older Border Patrol compatriots. It was almost new condition, and he had to find a way to reload. So he dug out his old Pacific press that he had got from a friend. He bought loading dies and a powder scale, and a spare room was invested with a light loading bench and cast bullets on the kitchen stove, sizing, lubricating, and seating the gas checks on a Lyman number 45 tool, which is still in his possession, along with that 40-year-old Pacific Press. Now you've got to remember, this is 77. Only having a handful of 357 cases, he drew on his 38 Special and loaded those up. Once launched, he never looked back. New dies and accoutrements were added as needed. As he began writing, additional presses were added and work-saving tools were acquired. Still, he began his daily alliance with the 44 Special and remembered at a time when he was a deputy sheriff, he was replaced. He replaced an ill radio dispatcher during the Panhandle blizzard that immobilized traffic. He spent all them comfortable days over a hot electric furnace, casting 44 Special bullets and responding to calls on his base station. Those slugs lasted him a couple of years. Later, as a genuine high sheriff, he had the authority to lop off 1/3 of the county's prisoner sentence for good behavior. Generally, this was done only if the man became a trustee and performed some light duty work for the county. One of his wards, convicted of bootlegging, supplicated that he wanted to be a trustee so he could, get his sentence done quickly and so he could leave town. That suited him, but he didn't have a job for him. All the trusteeships were filled up. Somehow he let it drop that he had worked at an iron factory in the east. I asked if he could cast bullets. After I demonstrated the procedure, he assured me of his capabilities. Using 1 and 2 cavity molds, he would chuck out perfectly made bullets like shucking peas. It was summer. He sweated. I kept him supplied with lead and cold Coca-Cola. I soon found myself spending too much time, crime-fighting time, trying to locate lead, tin, linotype, wheel wakes, whatever I could find. This guy went through them like they were birthday candles. Finally, I had to give up. The prisoner outdistanced me. In the back room of the Deaf Smith County Jail were about 300 pounds of various neatly packed cast bullets. The bootlegger still lacked a month or so to even complete the minimum 2/3 of that sentence. I was out of bullet metal. He had worked about twice as hard and carefully as any trustee he ever had. I unlocked the cell, gave him $10 and a bus ticket to Oklahoma City, and wondered what the hell I was going to do with all those bullets. I shouldn't have. They had long since shot up by other officers and myself. He says, what's contentment? Right now I'm set up to load any centerfire rifle I own. Cases and primers are laid by, and I'm not going to run out of ammunition again. Thanks for watching.